What is going on, everybody? It is Treeb from Treeb Talks here. We are back again ranking the sets that were on the most recently uploaded edition of Kill Tony. Now, I know, obviously, the most recent edition of Kill Tony was Kill Tony at Madison Square Garden, and I haven't bought that show, but it's something that I am interested in, and it's something that I have been thinking about doing. I've been doing more kind of Kill Tony content, some more comedy content. If that's something you guys would be interested in, me reviewing that show and maybe going over the sets from that show, let me know in the comment section down below. I have been thinking about just waiting till it comes on YouTube, but also, I've just heard nothing but just amazing things about it, and it was just such a great show, and I've been so eager to listen to it, and I've been so eager to really just see what this show was all about. Plus, my guy Casey Rocket's on it, and whenever he's on a show, I got to give it a watch. So let me know what you guys want me to do with the Madison Square Garden show. If you care, if you want me to review it, just let me know in the comments down below. But the most recent edition of the show that was uploaded to YouTube was number 677, and the guest, just a smorgasbord of people that you would not expect to be together. We had Jordan Peterson, Tyler Fisher, and Kim Congdon, and I'll tell you, the only person on this panel that I was familiar with heading in was Jordan Peterson, and I know Kim was a stand-up that was one of the first regulars on the show, but that was before I had started watching Kill Tony. Obviously, I'm one of the people that started semi-recently watching the show, so it was my first taste to see what she had to bring to the table. And Tyler Fisher, a stand-up comedian I had never seen before, and obviously Jordan Peterson seems like he does all the shows with the comedians, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and now Kill Tony. And he was hilarious. He was a great guest on the show. He would every so often try to give some people some advice, or try to, do his old psychology thing and try to say, like, why stand up? Why are you doing stand up? But he would also, drop little bars there, here and there that were just very, very funny. Tyler Fisher, another guy who I think I'm going to seek out, from here on out, because he was another guy, super, super funny. Kim Congdon, too. Very funny. This was a very, I had low expectations heading into this episode, but they knocked it out of the park. I really enjoyed the panel of guests from this show. Now, were the acts as strong as the panel was? We are going to find out, but before we do that, I do have to say that I did think the crowd in this edition of Kill Tony was a little weird. Like, they were not eager to give not only the acts that were on stage their laughs, but they were not eager to give Tony or any of the guests laughs either. It was a very awkward crowd, this episode was. I found myself laughing while I was watching a lot of these sets, but the crowd, man, they were not a very giving group. So a lot of people that I think did have some decent sets on the surface when they were performing there live in front of that crowd. It kind of looked like they bombed a little bit, but we'll talk about some of the things that maybe some people that looked like they bombed, maybe some of the things they did well, and some people who really truly did bomb, we'll go over them as well. So let's start off this list. There were 13 stand-up acts in this episode, and at the bottom of the list, I have Alex Barbosa. She opened up with a line saying that her tits are so small that her husband grabs his own tits when they have sex, which is just like, okay, you build something off of that. I'm hoping there's a better joke in there. And then she talked about how her grandma's going to be dying, but she doesn't care because she stole all of her Diet Cokes. And, didn't get that. I don't know. I think that was a little bit too niche, too personal for me. Didn't really like that, nor understand it. And then she said, life is tough or something. And she said, what's tough, Alex, is sucking a Nazi's dick or something along the lines of that. And I see what she was going for, saying, oh, my grandma survived World War II and she had to suck a Nazi's dick to survive back then. And it's like, I wasn't a fan of that. The black dad joke was about as surface level as racist comedy can go. So, again, not the biggest fan of that. And her interview was pretty honest and on the spot. I mean, when she was asked why she does stand-up comedy, she basically said the adrenaline and the attention. And they're like, that's the right answer. That's the first time anybody on this show has given the right answer. And her interview was enough to give her a big joke book. And it wasn't even that great of an interview. It definitely was, in my opinion, the worst stand-up set of the night. And there was, as far as the bucket pulls go, there weren't that many great stand-up sets in this episode. And I was just very, very surprised. She got a big joke book. And for me, she was the worst act of the night. Coming in at number 12, I have David Donick, the teacher, who, kind of just came out and, when you know a speech in, like, middle school, like, you had to memorize a speech in middle school, and you were going over it, because you're like, oh, I got to get all this down so I could just go in front of the class, get it all out, and then I can get off and then just be done with it. That's how it felt with his stand-up set. I mean, he was talking really, really fast. It seemed like he memorized the words, but there was not a whole lot of, jokes in there. There wasn't a whole lot of, pauses to get laughs. It just kind of sounded like he was actually just telling a story of what happened to him at work really, really fast. Wasn't great stuff. And, when he revealed that he was a teacher or, doing some professional development for teaching and said that he was on his phone for most of the day, I thought it was funny that Tony and Jordan and Tyler and everybody on the panel was basically just roasting him for saying, oh, that's why our education's so bad, because of people like you, and, you didn't really have any reason to say, that they were wrong. And then, he dropped lines like, what's up, big pimp, which is very cringe. I get that he, works in Chicago, which is in a predominantly black school, he mentioned, but, think about your black students, think about that, think about how cringe how much they are going to cringe when they see you on the largest podcast in the world referring to a student as big pimp. That is some cringe stuff. And I think that is going to be a stand-up set that is going to be on one of those, Kill Tony cringe bucket pulls. And the funniest moment of the whole entire set was basically, this guy, David Donick, his whole set was centered around the fact that, his students thought he was gay, and then he brought up to one of his other students that, his girlfriend goes to a music school or went to a music school, and that's the school that she should go to, and they're like, we had a $5 bet that you were gay. And then Tony said, after the set, he said, oh, don't worry, that happens to me all the time. And Jordan Peterson said, you owe me $5. Like, I mean, the comedic timing for the guy on the panel who's not a comedian was hilarious. Loved it. Not a lot more to say on this set. Was not very good. Coming in at number 11, I got Frank Trandacosta. Not a whole lot of memorable stuff from him, but at least he didn't bomb terribly bad because, he had some good back and forths with Tony, basically talking about heroin the whole time. Seems like Tony really likes it when these guys either do drugs or used to do drugs because, it's good to talk about in a comedy, a comedy podcast in a, live improvised setting. And he mentioned how his dad gave him heroin when he thought it was cocaine, which is, completely nuts. You're taking, you're like, oh, here's some cocaine, but it's actually heroin, which is very, very, very crazy, very funny in the setting. He did some Asian jokes, which, he is Asian, South Korean, and they were not very funny. And he sang the Chili's sang the Chili's song for the Kill Tony audience because he works at Chili's, and that was probably the highlight of his entire set. They also basically touched on the fact that he isn't as dedicated as he should be because he only spends, admittedly, only 8 to 10 minutes a day on his stand-up. So hopefully Frank could get more effort done on his set and not focus so much on those baby back ribs. And maybe he'll be back on Kill Tony and he will look a little bit better. Coming in at number 10, we have Luke Everett, also known as the Extremely White Dude. He did a set. His whole set was centered around having sex with a virgin and basically saying he's going to have blood on his hands either way. I thought it was an all right set. He talked about how the girl that he had sex with said that he had a good dick, but it wasn't the biggest dick ever. And then he flipped it and said, "You have the biggest vagina I've ever seen." I thought that was funny, and I thought it was okay. But it was one of those things where the crowd just didn't laugh at all, so, really made it feel like he was bombing. And really the whole thing that was the downfall of his whole interview was he just kept talking about his dick. Like, that was, like, the only thing he talked about. Like, they said, "What's the blackest thing about you?" And he said, "My fucking cock, dude." Like, what are we doing here, dude? You gotta bring something to the table. And then, obviously he kind of fumbled even more when he was still telling his joke when the kitty sounded. He said, "Is that my time?" And then, he ended up finishing his joke. Wasn't very good. So just kind of tripped over his own feet during his set on Kill Tony. But, maybe if now that he's more familiar with the show and what they're looking for, he might do a little bit better if he does come onto the show next time. But he comes in at number 10 for me. In the top 10, Luke Everett is. Granted, there's only, 3 other people that are below him, but still, in the top 10 of a Kill Tony episode, can't take that away from him. Coming in at number 9, I have Brandon Ferris, a.k.a. the guy who cried on stage because he finally got on Kill Tony, which I thought was an awesome moment, man. It was his birthday. He got to be on a show that he loved, and Tony called him adorable. It was a good change of pace from the kind of hard-hitting, roasting atmosphere that Kill Tony usually brings. It was a real sentimental moment for him. He had lost his father to Alzheimer's, and as soon as he said that, of course, all the Alzheimer's jokes came to a head, and Jordan Peterson was, you could kind of tell by then he was getting a little uncomfortable, like, Jesus, man, dude, this guy's dad just died. Like, let's go a little easy on him. He just got real emotional about being on your show. He just said he's a fan, but he is a fan definitely through and through, so he knew that type of stuff was going to happen to him, and he took it on the chin. He did a really good job with that, and basically his whole set was self-deprecation. So they kind of knew that he was gonna, they probably knew that he was gonna be able to take most of that stuff on the chin, which was good. Talking about how he had to shave his beard so he doesn't look like Fred Durst. He looks like a Nickelodeon producer, which was kind of funny because he kind of does look like Dan Snyder. And the state capitol joke, which was his closing joke, saying that one of his daughters said that the state capital of Texas was Dallas and said that's his dumb kid. And then his other kid said that it is T, which is a good joke. That is a good joke. I like that. Nobody laughed in the crowd. Again, like I know this isn't like, elite level comedy here, but you're pulling them out of the bucket of Kill Tony. Give them some laughs, man. That was a good joke, I would say. The moment was super cool for him. Great to see somebody who's a fan and somebody who really cares that much and is going through a lot kind of get that moment. Tyler Ferris went in to give him a hug, and when Tony called it a Jelly Roll acceptance speech, hilarious, perfect comparison. And yeah, just a real rare moment for the show as far as, an emotional moment. So that was very, very cool to see for me. And I got Brandon Ferris at number 9 for this episode. Coming in at number 8, I have Clemente Villegas, the dude with the mustache. And, he was the first guy on the stage. And I don't know if... I don't really know what he did. I think it was really... What it came down to was his closing joke about vegans and trans vaginas, and they really focused on that. And I just don't think he answered the questions the way that Tony wanted him to. And they gave him a little joke book, but the rest of his jokes were pretty good. The prison body joke was good. The Apple Watch joke was good. For a guy that I believe said that he was only doing this for a year or two, these are, run-of-the-mill, standard 1 year stand-up comedy jokes. If another guy did this before, I feel like you look at any other Kill Tony show and a guy did these jokes, Tony would have gone, solid set. That's what he would have said. But maybe it was because he was the opener. Maybe it was because he was the first bucket pull. I'm not too sure. I thought it was good. They shat on him, and I think he kind of got flustered, especially when they started talking about, the vegan stuff and the trans vaginas. But I really think, if Tony saw this set or heard this set from somebody later in the night, after, a couple more people had been bombing, I think he would have had a better impression on it, and I think he would have got a big joke book. Coming in at number 7, another person who I think just did not bomb. I think she had a good set, and I think she's funny, and I think she's welcome in the Kill Tony universe. I have Helena. She was a crazy chick who was racist last time. Said she did some satire, but the last time she was on, she was just straight up racist. The jokes really weren't that great, and I guess she got some death threats in her DMs, which is believable, believable from the Kill Tony fan base, and believable from some of the jokes she said. But her opening joke with the rape whistle and saying that they're tooting a jig about getting raped was, dark, but it was funny. And then saying that they're just basically playing themselves out like they're on the Titanic. I mean, I think that was a pretty funny joke, for dark comedy, and as far as that kind of comedy style goes, I think she did a good job with that kind of style of comedy. Maybe not, maybe I'm crazy, but I kind of liked it. What did her in was probably roasting Tony. I think that's literally what it is. Tony's kind of got that God complex to him. So, after she said the thing about Tony, he probably just switched his mind on how good her set was. I didn't give her a little joke book. She did tell a story about how she lost it the last time and, was sad after how bad her set went. But it was cool because, she kind of told a little story about how she bombed on the biggest podcast in the world, and she kind of spiraled for a little bit, but now she's back up and wants to do this for herself, which is very, very cool. And I would like to see her back on again. Obviously, Tony's not going to invite her back on again, but I think, as she kind of hits more open mics and kind of develops her craft, she's somebody who could be a really good stand-up comedian, especially if she kind of masters those dark style of jokes. And I think the future is bright for her, and I think she had a good set, and it was another one where I think the panel and the crowd and Tony Hinchcliffe were a little bit too hard on her. Coming in at number 6, I have William Montgomery. And quite the dip from last week for William Montgomery. He claims that he was only on an hour of sleep. You never know with these William Montgomery interviews how much of it is true and how much of it is not. But, if he really was on an hour of sleep, it kind of showed. His set wasn't that great. It's political jokes. I'm not a political guy. I don't really ever get them, because I don't really watch the news, even though everybody on my Joe Rogan video said I had CNN on all day. If I did, I'd probably understand it a little bit more, but didn't really get it. The interview was fine. He was making fun of Tyler and how small he was, and then, Kim tried to pop in, and then he said, "I'm not going to talk to bitches," which was pretty funny, old school William Montgomery, but, it wasn't him at his best, and it just didn't deliver like a typical William Montgomery set for me. He talked about missing his flights, and how, people need to stop. And Tony brought up, people need to stop booking tickets to your Friday show. And just 2 minutes later after that, he's like, I'm already stressed out about it. And, it was fine. It didn't blow me away, this William Montgomery set this time. And hopefully, he gets better from here on out. Coming in at number 5, I have Cam Patterson. He's back on the car thing. This time he got himself a car. Last time got his dad a 2008, it was the wrong make and model of the car, but it was pretty funny it was pretty funny the last time. And this time he got himself a new car for $4,000, a 2003 Acura, or an Audi. It was either an Audi or an Acura. And, that's pretty funny. He's just getting something to kind of drive around in, and, it's something that's never going to be a loss to Mr. Cam Patterson, and I thought that was funny, kind of saving his money, doing what he needs to do to be successful out here. So pretty funny, good stuff to bring that up. His set was also pretty funny, talking about immigrants not speaking English, and said, I like immigrants, but, I don't even care if they don't speak English. But then he goes into a Walmart situation where the person trying to help him, didn't understand a word he was saying, and it was a back and forth deal. And he's like, "How do we even get here?" I thought that was pretty funny. A little bit different from what Cam Patterson had been doing, which I like to see. Step out of his comfort zone. He also talked about Donald Trump Jr. retweeting his joke about Donald Trump getting shot and his mom calling him and saying, "Don't vote for him," which is, again, very, very funny. And then also he went up to Jordan Peterson and said, "What's up, therapist?" Which was also very, very funny. So Cam Patterson firing on all cylinders in this episode. Great to see. Coming in at number 4, I have Ari Maddie. Another solid delivery of comedy from Ari Maddie. You love to see it. Perhaps a little safe, nothing too crazy from Ari Maddie here. His interview was fine. He compared Canada to America and saying that they, were children lost from divorce, basically, and that Canada stayed with mom and, were coddled and, a little bit more, I guess, on the liberal side, which was pretty funny, especially with Jordan Peterson there. I thought that was pretty funny. I'd like to see him kind of, do a little bit more stuff out of maybe the realm of comfort. I don't know. I don't really know what the word is, but kind of doing things that are a little bit more off the wall, maybe kind of, form something a little bit more unique for himself, because he is a really good stand-up comedian with his delivery, with his setups, and I think he has all the talent in the world. But this one just didn't really blow me away too much. I did laugh at it, but I do think that there are, Ari Maddie still has better comedy left to show. So it's going to be interesting to see where his other minutes are going to be at. And I did see his minute at the Madison Square Garden show, which was very, very good. So, comparing it to that, this one was, about the same, if not a little bit worse. So, Ari Maddie coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I have Karen Jones, one of the best characters on Kill Tony at the minute. The set was actually pretty all right. I thought the first joke where she started talking about the Secret Service and the females of the Secret Service, it kind of made you feel like, here we go. She's just going to be saying the same shit over and over, whatever, that all these Republicans are saying, blah, 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 Secret Service, women fail. But she did a little bit of a spin on it, and she said, "I just wanted to see Trump, just kind of grab him by the pussy and just kind of use him as shields." Like, just a really good take on that situation, and doing it only in a way that Karen Jones can. And anytime she's on the screen, it's a blessing. And it's fun to watch her, tell stories about what happened when she stormed the Capitol, get to know her a little bit better. She went into depth about how she was molested as a kid in this episode. So we really got to know more about Karen Jones and about her backstory, kind of her origin. Where does a character like this come from? How does this development happen? And she's been through the ringer, but she maintains a positive attitude, which is very cool to see from Karen Jones, and is really kind of one of the best characters right now that isn't a regular. Kind of reminds me of Uncle Laser a little bit. Is a kind of a person that isn't a regular, but is somebody that shows up a lot from time to time on Kill Tony. And right now, she's one of the best, and she gets a top 3 spot, and she actually outperforms, for me, all the regulars based on mostly her interview. But her first joke, too, I think was better than perhaps William, Cam's, and Ari's jokes. So good job, Karen, who says old dogs can't learn new tricks. She does very well here. It is in the top 3 of this episode. Coming in at number 2, I have Tyler Fisher as Jordan Peterson. He didn't really tell a whole lot of jokes here, but he really got to show off how good his impression of Jordan Peterson was. It was freaky good. He was the voice was just insanely accurate. And I think just for that, it should be at number 2. Said a couple funny one-liners there. And really, this was he was on fire as a host throughout the show, but that kind of solidified it for me that I'm going to go out and look at more stuff from Tyler after this, because he is a funny guy. He's good at impressions, and it seems like the sky's the limit for him. I don't know why. Maybe I'm behind the loop, and a lot of people do know about him, but I'm surprised I don't hear more about Tyler Fisher, and I definitely should know more. And I'm very intrigued to get to know more about him as I dive more into his career. Coming in at number 1, I have Jack Shaw, the newest Golden Ticket winner, and he just killed it, man. I mean, I remember listening to his first set when he won the Golden Ticket, and I thought, he was fine. He was all right. I was a little surprised that he got a Golden Ticket, honestly. But this set, he fired on all cylinders, bro. The interview was good. The set was good. The opening line, "A homeless man called me a bitch. How did he know that about me?" That is so funny. And then, I'm not doing his delivery any justice. You got to go watch it. But it was so good. So good. And he talked about how he was sweeping up his curb. And he's like, I guess he cares about his curb appeal. And, he asked Jordan Peterson if he's a comedian. And that was so funny. I don't know if he was messing with him or not, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like he genuinely did not know who Jordan Peterson was, which was funny. In the interview, they said, any more interesting things about you? And he just said, I masturbate a lot, which is so fucking funny. And he said, people tell me I have a cummy vibe, which is another thing that just it seems like only he would come up with that, from the short amount of time we've spent with Jack. Seems like very uniquely him. And it seems like now we kind of have a rotating list of regulars here, and Golden Tickets are seemingly showing up a little bit more than they used to. And I keep saying, make this guy a regular, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't mind seeing Jack more on the screens, and I wouldn't mind him as a regular. But, I feel like everything that they want Drew Nickens to be, Jack Shaw is. And he does it so much better. Leaps and bounds better. It's not even close. He's got that high energy. He's funny. Kind of gives off those Virgin vibes that they could kind of play off of. And he's better at rolling with the punches. He knows how to deliver a joke, and he knows, when people are messing with him and how to build off of those jokes from the panel and kind of, form a dialogue back and forth that is funny. And I feel like he's everything that they want Drew Nickens to be, but they already have that in their latest Golden Ticket winner in Jack Shaw. Alrighty, guys, what did you guys think of the latest episode of Kill Tony? Tell me in the comment section down below. Was my ranking off? Was it good? Was it bad? I want to know. Tell me in the comments so we can have a fair chat, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.